Regulation nation, yes indeed. President Obama says Republicans won't pass his jobs bill because they don't care about the air we breathe in the sky.
And then you got their plan, which is let's have dirtier air, dirtier water. They want to gut regulations. They want to let Wall Street do whatever it wants. They want to drill more.
But our next guest says our air and water are cleaner than ever before. So why is the EPA spending more and more money to create more and more regulations to clamp down on more and more businesses? Joining us right now, an environmental consultant and the author of the new book, Regulators Gone Wild, How the EPA is Ruining American Industry, Rich Trzupek. Rich, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Enjoy being here.
Well, thank you very much. Rich, to put this in perspective, tell the story about the landlord. He gets a notice from the EPA. Hey, you got lead paint in your apartment building. It's going to cost you $140,000. But there were a couple of problems with his story, weren't there?
There were. The key one being there wasn't actually lead paint. We're talking about a retiree who said, I'm going to buy a 6-flat. That's a great investment for my retirement income. Hires a management company to take care of it for him. And the management company forgets to file this one piece of paper that says we really don't have lead paint. The EPA discovers that piece of paper wasn't filed, and they demand $140,000 from the poor guy. And that is so typical of the gotcha mentality that infects the EPA today.
Well, what's happening is as our air and water have never been cleaner, and yet the EPA, by mandate essentially, they've got to create the same amount in fines and fees year after year, so they got to stretch things out to figure out who to find next.
That's exactly right, Steve, because the environmental activists' big problem with Bush was not that the air and the water did not get cleaner, because it absolutely did, and the data absolutely shows that it did. It was that he pulled back on enforcement a little bit because that was happening. It was a reward, and that drove the environmental activists and the left nuts. And now, under this administration, enforcement activity is back way up, even though pollution is way down.
And the problem is, Rich, so many small businesses can't fight back. It's hard to go up against Uncle Sam because he's got very deep pockets.
That's absolutely correct, Steve. And what I often say is that I wrote this book to try to put myself out of business, because the small and the mid-sized guys have to hire people like me and pay me a lot of money to try to get them through the system when they just want to do the right thing. They don't have a problem with polluting less, with being cleaner. It's just that the system is so incredibly complex, and intentionally so that you can generate this fine revenue.
That's right. And the interesting thing, from a business point of view or from a homeowner's point of view, with winter coming, and we're going to have to pay for electricity to fire up the furnaces and whatnot, is that the EPA effectively has tried to make the use of coal so expensive, it's almost as if cap and trade had passed, which it hasn't, obviously.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling to me that you have these people on the left and the environmental activists saying, oh, we need a carbon tax, we need cap and trade, when we have all this infrastructure in place right now. You have 33 states that have renewable portfolio standards that are driving the use of coal down. The whole body of regulations that this EPA under Obama has passed, not one of them says you can't use coal, but when you put them all together, you'll see nobody's planning coal plants anymore. Yeah. And they're getting the carbon reductions they want.
Interesting stuff. All right. Rich Trzupek, blowing the whistle on the EPA. Thank you, sir, for joining us today from Chicago.
Thanks for having me.
All right.